Hey guys, thanks for clicking on this link. I'll get right into it, why I'm making this video and how I want you to be a part of it. Um, a few weeks ago I had an experience that really changed my life forever and made me reevaluate what I'm doing and how I'm spending my time on this earth. And last week I had a conversation with a friend, and what was in my heart was really confirmed. So I'll start out with that conversation, sort of how it went and why I'm making this video. Um, Me and this friend have taken wildly different paths, and now where we're at kind of totally different spots in life. We believe totally different things, and the culture that we live in tells us, don't try to convince people that they're wrong. Don't try to convince people of what you believe the truth is. Don't talk about politics and religion, basically, right? Avoid philosophy talks, avoid that kind of stuff. It's confrontational, and who are you to say that you're right, and all this stuff. And I sort of bought that lie, and my hope was, oh well, people will just see how blessed I am and how full of peace and joy I am, and eventually they'll ask me about my secret, and I'll be able to share the truth with them. And but I think that is just bogus. And so I want to share this story. Talking to my friend last week, and after the 5 minutes of small talk, it was just burning in my heart. Um, it was so obvious in my conscience that I needed to cut the BS. And I just said to him, "Hey man, what are you living for?" And it was really awkward. I was like, "What are you living for? What's truth? What's goodness? What are you what's the point of life?" And then we proceeded to have a 2 hour long conversation, and it was passionate, and it was aggressive, and it was emotional, and it was all the things that maybe we want to avoid um, in our weakness as humans. We want to avoid a lot of these things. We want to just stay casual, just stay superficial. Don't go too deep. Don't really get to know people. And that wasn't this kind of conversation. We were in it deep. We went through the meaning of life. We went through good and evil. We went through truth. We went through it all. We talked a lot, and we argued a lot, and we debated. Um, and through this conversation, I really learned a lot uh, about the importance of seeking truth together. Um, for example, there was this moment where he actually said, "I'm not trying to change you." And I asked him, I said, "Listen, do you believe that you understand the world better than me, that you're seeing the world more clearly than me?" And he said, "Yes." And I said, "Do you believe that your understanding has brought you to a place of more peace and joy?" And he said, "Yes." And then I said, "Hey man, well then please try to change me. You're not being my friend by letting me walk in darkness if you really are in the light. Right? If you're really understanding the world clearly and correctly, please share it with me. In fact, drag me into the light. I don't think it's honorable to keep the truth to yourself when people are in darkness." And he agreed. He said, "Yeah, you know." And I told him, "I'm unapologetically trying to change you. I'm a Christian. I believe Jesus Christ is the truth, and I am absolutely trying to change you. And I don't apologize. I believe that walking in Christ, in the truth, on this narrow path has led me to such an awesome life, and I want that for you." And I explained it to him like that. And by the end of the conversation, we were both really thankful that we went down that conversation. Now, he didn't change and give his life to Jesus on the phone, and I didn't obviously adopt his worldview, but we both learned a lot, and through the process, we were both really blessed. And that inspired this video. And this video is an invitation to open up the dialogue. What I find so often is people misunderstand Christianity. They believe that religion in general is sort of like this mind disease that the intellectually weak latch onto as a crutch. And I can say with my whole heart that's not the case. Maybe some people do that, but don't judge a worldview by the few people who do it wrong. That's a straw man. Go to the hard cases. Go to the people who really believe, and maybe who believe for the right reasons in your opinion. Maybe it was an intellectual journey. Maybe it was experiential. Whatever it may be with you. there are people who you'll view with respect, and you'll relate to their testimony, and at the end of it you'll say, oh, that's a reasonable, rational person who believes in this. It's not just this ignoramus who's mentally weak, who needed a crutch. And the more you meet real Christians, or real people of any faith, I imagine, the more you'll have respect for their worldview. And so that's why I wanted to open up this dialogue, is to invite anybody to share what they believe about the world, and for us to argue, to debate, to discuss, to share this life together, to journey closer to truth together. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think it's a really good thing. It's a really cool thing to do. And I'm hoping that you guys will join me on that journey. So after me and my buddy talked for 2 hours, we got on the phone saying, we're going to do this again. This was awesome. And we both said, like, man, I love you, and this was great. And I felt so good, and he did too. So I think that the cultural lie that you need to avoid those kinds of topics, I just don't buy it. I refuse to buy it. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to ask you sort of 3 questions, or questions within 3 topics, we'll say that. And if you feel led to answer them, you can do it via text or video. But if you claim to love me, or to even want the best for me, or anybody who might share my views, and you believe I'm wrong, this video is for you. I'm welcoming you to join this discussion, to if you see an error, to correct it, because I believe our minds were made in the image of God, and they conform to the truth so long as the truth is presented to them clearly and understandably. For example, a lot of my intellectual friends will say from one side of their mouth that we are just products of evolution, that there really is no good and bad, that there really is no absolute truth, that there was no mind behind the universe, there is no God. But at the other side of their mouth, they will condemn acts that they say are evil. Rape is bad, murder is bad. Well, which is it? Is it really bad, or did tribes that believe it was bad just survive in higher numbers? Is it just a product of evolution? Is it just a product of natural selection? And what I find with these intellectuals is their reasoning is seriously frustrated when it's brought out in conversation. This was me too. I didn't get to Christianity because I was just like too weak or needed a crutch. I got to Christianity by getting my butt kicked in arguments over and over and over again. And my wisdom was frustrated by the truth, because I was trying to hold on to one claim, but all of my conclusions were inconsistent with the claim. And eventually I had to be honest. My conscience agreed with the Christian more than my mouth, and my mouth didn't. Right, my mouth was saying one thing, but my conscience knew what he was saying was way more true. Like truth, goodness, and beauty and love really did exist. Those were real objective things. And here I was trying to deny all of them, even though I lived inconsistently with that proclamation. So I believe as we are made in the image of God, as the truth is presented to us, we will conform to it. We were created that way. Just like 2 + 2 = 4. And no matter how much you try to change that truth, our minds accept it to be true because it is true. And any other explanation will not sit correctly if given enough time to sit in your mind. Your conscience agrees with God, whether or not you do. So, with that said, I'm going to ask 3 kinds of questions, and I want you to respond. And you can do it in video format, like I said, or text. First question: what is your purpose in life, and where did you get it from? What's the meaning of life? What's the point? What's the point? First question. Second question: do you believe you were created? A follow-up question to that is, do you believe your creator, the person or the thing, or the being that created you, did it on purpose? Did it have a mind? Did it have a will? Did it intentionally make you? Or were you a happy accident? Did it create like a space and then eventually you just happened? Okay, so that's my second question. My third question is, do you believe in absolute truth? The follow-up question is, let's say absolute truth is the bullseye on the dartboard, do you believe it's beneficial to get closer to that bullseye? So maybe none of us are maybe right on the bullseye for the sake of discussion, but do you think it's better to be closer than farther away? Do you think it profits a man or a woman to get closer to that bullseye, to be more right than someone else? So those are my 3 questions. I open up this dialogue. I welcome any walk of life, any religious belief system or lack thereof. Come on in, let's dialogue, let's argue in the best way possible. I'll always respect you and treat you with gentleness, and I'll love you, and it won't be no judgment here. Just I am so convinced that it's important for us, just like the Greeks understood, to openly talk about truth and seek it together for the good of our whole society. So I hope you guys will participate, and I'm looking forward to see who does. God bless.